discussion of being weightless is completely pointless. You don't need to talk aerodynamic forces here. If you're in a waterfall of air going down, all that matters is where's your VG and what is your mass inertia. Because if you have an initiation of a turn and then the air moves with you, your wing is not connected to that air. You're just a weight in basically in an empty space. And there's no way you can stop this anymore because your wing is not holding on to anything. You know? In that moment it would be really good if you would basically be at the nose, in the wing, because then rotating it by the mass inertia would be slow. And by slowing it down, you might fall out of it. You know? You've heard the term pitch damping. Pitch damping is an important term. It's going to come really important in the future because the testing bodies have realized pitch up moments is not all there is. You know, you have, for instance, old wings. They look like a moth, Atlas, I would mention, and others. They have terrible pitch. They don't tumble. Why is that? If the pitch is so bad, why don't they tumble? The reason is they have a big inertia against the rotation. They have a deep chord. They slow down. You coin the word normally pitch work. You know, as you drop your nose in a thermaling situation from high to low, 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 and too low, your glider, if it has something like pitch up moment, works against that drop. You know. Pitch moment times an angle and finds an energy. That's like work, you know. If the pitch work that the glider does is big enough to stop it or to delay it for long enough, so your whole glider has a chance to fall out of the bad air or just fall down and get speed again, you have a good chance to not tumble. That's what happens to beginner gliders. You stall them, they whip stall, and they go. And by delaying this for a second, they're falling very far. And there is the speed again, and there you come out. Take the other extreme. Rigid wings, very good pitch figures on the car, but because the damping factor is only small, without the tail, that is, all the best pitch figures are not doing much because in the beginning of that whip stall, you are in this situation where you are not connected again once the stall starts, not connected to the air for a moment. And if you have no pitch damping, you do this rotation very quick. The rigid falls over, falls through the good angles of attack where it should stop because the pitch work it does is very small. The reason is basically like this, you know, you look at the graph, you need to see a lot of area. This is zero lift and this is angle of attack, and the area is basically this resistance against tumbling. And the Atlas might do like that. And then the Atlas is terrible here, so once you passed here, it might even just go like that. So you don't see much in this critical moment where they like to measure, you know. But you have been falling through the whole area, the resistance against tumbling was already working. Rigid wing would be different. You can set them up in a way that it goes like this. This area is very small. So you will see a drop of the nose very, very quickly because there's nothing against it. And then when it really comes good, it might already be too late because your weight is already now opposite of pendulum stability, now it's pendulum instability because now your weight is high and wants to drive you over. So that's why it might happen, and I've been discussing this with the Germans, long and wide, we're not just fighting, you know, that we would have to have something like a pitch requirement for say 50 Newton meters times a factor that now could be 1.3 for a rigid, and then 0.8 for an Atlas, and maybe, I don't know, what is the reference, 1 for a normal flexor. Just to say, if you have not very much pitch tamping, and you can calculate this figure from the plan form. You don't have to do any measurements, because pitch damping just goes with the plan form. Then you might need an extra 30% on your pitch figure to counteract that. Or you might not need it if you're a beginner glider. That would make so much more sense in terms of judging beginner gliders, because right now, if you want to make a new beginner glider, you realize you are fighting against a situation where they have installed a testing requirement that is now high, but the Atlas didn't have that. You could not certify an Atlas glider today. Still, it's the most successful trainer glider, and it's probably the most successful glider, period. You know, would not fly anymore, would not pass. That's quite amazing. Yeah? Hasn't tumbled, can't certify it. It's regarded totally unsafe in certification. It's regarded totally safe within pilots. Instructors love to teach with it, also it's not the best trainer, and a newer version of it can't pass because you would basically have to set up those beginner gliders to Owens Valley standards. That's not good. You know, you see something's wrong here, and the reason for that is not that the Germans are so dumb. The reason is that they locked themselves into limits too early, and they were not willing to move. And if we wait until they do it for us, we wait forever. We've got to do it for ourselves. And I agree with you and you and you that we may be too low. I just haven't found a way to do this without screwing out our game completely. You know, because if we start, this is what I see, and I think we agree on that. If we start policing people, if we start to do it by the rules and by punishment, we are not getting it safer. We're just changing the game. You know what's going to be the new game? How do you create a glider that has 8 degrees and 6 degrees of washout angle and still has no pitch? I can do that because I can modify sails in a way nobody can see it. You might be able to do that if you have enough experience with it, you know, but just trying to get it right, you also know how to get it wrong, you know. Now all of a sudden wrong becomes right, because now it'd be really good to have a very high setup. Everybody's happy, you know, we all say he's really safe, and then you're passing all your friends with 120 and they think, how is he doing that, you know? This is how you do it. You know, you look at what is not in the current equation that is tested, and you go for that. Are they testing sprogs? We're not going to focus on the sprogs. We're going to focus on the profiles. Are they testing profiles as well? I'm going to focus on the close rips. Are they changing close rips? I'm going to change the sweep, you know? You have no chance. You have no chance against a guy like me, and it's totally unfair. Right now we have at least sort of... Yeah. No, this is what it is. This is the future if we start measuring. The ones that have no access to all these changes are drilled. They are at the mercy of the few guys that can change it, and I give you the normal glider, and I keep the good stuff for myself.
What we need is a minimum on pitch stability.
But if we don't check it, you can't even use the word minimum, because you're not measuring.
But we need it.
Well, I would agree and say what would be good to have is a common understanding that we should all come up a little bit on the dive sticks.